Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to talk about how to create oil paint style in Blender. So you can look like this. Okay, so first of all, what we are going to do is to create a plane that will hold our brush texture. And the next thing I'm going to do is to create a 3-point light for it. Um, Remember, make sure you have the dry lighting add-on checked. This is a built-in add-on, and it should be easy for you to find. Then we are going to change the color of the light of the 3-point light, and also boost up the power of it. The reason I'm changing the 3-point light is that I want the final result, the brushes, is they can react to different kind of light source. For example, these blue brushes and this red or purple brushes is react to different kind of light. That this is created by a field light and this is created by the backlight, and this main body. This main brushes is created by the key light, and what I'm going to do is I use the color of the light as a filter to them so that they are working independently. If the lights are all white in the colors, they are going to affect each other and it's going to be messed up. So back to Blender, we're going to change the color of the light and the power. So if we see it in the viewport, in the render viewport, yeah, it should be looks like this. Then we are going to create the brushes. So let's go to the shading tab and then create the material called brush. What I'm going to do next is very simple. I just open the texture that I download from the internet, and you can see it's like this. One thing to notice is that if I plug the upper value of the texture to the principal BSDF, the final result is going to be like this. The color of the brush is affected by the color of the light. So what I'm going to do is use the emission shader. So let's create the emission shader, create a transparent shader, and mix them together, and plug the upper value of the texture to the vector of the mix shader. Remember to change the blend mode to alpha blend and turn off the shadow. And then, as we said before, we want the brushes to react to certain kind of light. And what I'm going to do is use the diffuse BSDF in shader to RGB, and it's going to react with the certain color that we select. That is the color of the key light, which is red in color. So how can we do a filter? Like I mentioned before, we're going to use a feather map and change it to dot product. Connect them together. And by doing that, and you can see that using a dot product is the dot product is going to check the final result. The final result of the plane is, and check if there is any red color on the plane. And if there is red color on it, it's going to return value above 0. And if it's not, it returns a value of 0, of course. So with that, and you can test it with moving the color of the key light more closer to the plane, and you can see that the value is going to change. And if we try another light, it's got nothing, it has no effect on it, on the plane. So I mean it works. So so we are going to plug this product result to the color of the emission. And also we would like to create a hue saturation node before the emission node, and connect the dot product to the value. And then we can change the color of the hue saturation node, and we can manipulate which color we want for the brush. So that's the basic for this brush shader. We just need to group them together and call it let's just call it the brush. And we're going to outsource the colors of the brush to the group input, and also the color that we are going to take in as a filter for the filter of light to the group input. Let's just rename the input as light color, light input color, and rename the second input as a brush color. So we do the same. We change the light input color to red, and then we change the brush color to maybe a little bit green, like this. I don't know. Pick any color you like. Then we can hide this plane forever, like forever. Yeah. Next thing, we are going to create this UV sphere to test our shader, and we are going to put brushes on the surface on this sphere, on this object. So how we are going to do? We're going to use geometry node to achieve this. So first of all, let's create a new geometry node and call it oil painting style. Here we are using the plane as an instance that we are going to distribute on the surface of the sphere. So we are going to use distribute points on the surface look, and then we are going to instance on the points. And what we are instancing is the plane that we use. So you see it's a little bit messed up, and we just need to connect the rotation of the original of the points to the instance, and that will be fine. I would like to change the scales down the planes so that it looks much better. And then the next thing I'm going to do is use the set material look and output it and outsource it to the group input, and just rename this input as material for the key light. That is the brush. So if we change to the viewport, and you can see this as the prototype or the first shape of the oil paint style. And then right now we are going to go back to the shader tab. Let's rename the brush for rename it to the sphere for key light. The brushes for this sphere and for the key light. And we are going to change. We're going to uncheck. We're going to check the back face cooling properties so that we won't see the other face. Otherwise, it looks much messy and didn't show the shape of the object that we are playing with. Then I'm going to create another material. Just copy the material for the key light and rename it as sphere fill, and that is for the fill light. And the fill light, this is the greenish color. We are going to change it to take the green color as the input, and then change the brush color to maybe a little bit blue, like this. Then back to the geometry look tabs. We're going to group what we have done to a look group and rename it as layer. We're going to duplicate another layer out, and we're going to change the material for the second layer. That is the material for fill light, and that is the sphere fill. Next, we are going to join the geometry together, and you can see that the brushes with blue color appears at the sides of the fill light shine on. And then I would like to add a transformation node before the distribute points on surface, and use a combine XYZ node to change the scale. I'd like to put it as the group input 2, and this is going to be the output, the input of the geometry node. We name the signs, we name the input values as always, and by enlarging the fill size, the size of the brushes for fill lights, and you can see that it's like this. But right now you can see that the brushes, they are actually on the same pattern or same distribution. So I would like to put the set out to the group input of the layer, and then change a little bit. Okay, that's much better. And then you can see that the brushes for fill lights is all over the sphere, which is what we don't want. All we want is that it only appears on the faces for the fill lights, the faces that the fill lights has shine on. So let's go back to the shading tab, and I would like to add mix RGB look, and change it to multiply, and multiplying the alpha values of the texture with the dot product, that is the value of the light that we are using, that we are filtering. But right now you can see that it's going to affect our main brushes too, that the brushes for key light too. So we're going to put the factor of the mix RGB in the group input and rename it as light only. It's going to 0 in default, and for the fill light, it's going to be 0. So so it only affects the brushes for fill lights only. And after multiplying it, you can see that the brushes are much more transparent, which is what we don't want. So I would like to also add the matlook of greater than 0.05, so that you can see that the brushes for fill light is much more visible. And why is 0.05? Because I just tested. I just found it's the best value I can use. For example, if I create a test material for it, you can see, and I copy it to the test material. Let's pick a color, for example, the fill light color, that is green light. You can see that it's like this. It's perfectly half. I think it's perfectly half of the sphere, right? Yeah, something like that. So let's get back to the brushes, and then we are going to repeat the process and create a brushes for the backlight. So we just copy the fill light again and change it to backlight, and change the input color to blue, which is the color of the backlight, and then change the color to a little bit, the brushes color to a little bit red, and I think that is good. And then in geometry locked, we're going to duplicate another layer, and we're going to put the material and size to the group input. We name it as the back material and back size. Also, remember to rearrange the values a little bit. Connect the third layer to the geometry node, and in back material, we're going to select the material that we just create, and we can see that the backlight, the brushes for backlight it show up. Remember to change the set of the randomness, so you can have more variation for the brushes. And one more thing I would like to do is that you can see there's a lot of holes in the main brushes, in the brushes for key light, and I want more brushes for it. So I'll doing the same thing. I just put the density of each brushes to the group input, to the input of the geometry node, and then rename them. Again, we are going to rearrange them like this. So we can change the densities of the brushes, make it more sphere, and there's a fewer area that is in transparent. But remember that the density, the denser the brushes are, the higher workload for the blender for your computer. So one little cheat I do is that I plug in the geometry locked original geometry lock to the joint geometry, and I create a material called the base color and change it to a little bit green, a little bit same as the brushes for key lights, and assign them to the original mesh. So you can see is there is no hole for the sphere now. So that's pretty much how I do create the oil paint shader. What you can do more is that you can add an inverse node. For example, add an inverse node. After that gradient, and by putting the factor of the invert to the group input, you can change it. You can change the the brushes that is react to the fill light or fill light and the backlight to change from it only show in the shadow in the light area or show in the shadow areas. And also you can change the size of the brushes in the geometry node, or you can also change you can add more brushes and create a look that randomly choosing the brushes, or even you can add random values to the hue saturation so that you have more variation of the color. So if you do that, the final result is going to be like this. And that's it for today's videos. That's pretty much how I do it. I hope it helps, and I hope you enjoy this video. See you in the next one.